Hello, my name is Aaron, and I would like to share a story that happened to me 5 months ago. For those of you who don't know, there is a TV show out there, or a YouTube show called Happy Tree Friends. Happy Tree Friends was an animated series created by Mondo Media. The Happy Tree Friends was about a group of anthropomorphic, cute, adorable looking animals getting brutally murdered and butchered in the most physical, painful ways possible. But just like all sorts of kids, I was a fan of this show. I was a really big fan of Happy Tree Friends when I was 8 years old. I remember always watching this show when my parents were away. It was supposedly one of my secrets. I normally watched Happy Tree Friends in secret without anyone knowing. But I didn't care about the violence, blood, or gore. I had a lot of good times watching Happy Tree Friends. But however, I don't watch Happy Tree Friends anymore. And I'm going to tell you why. When I was 16 years old, I got a new computer. I started looking up stuff on the internet. But then my parents went away. Since my parents were away, I thought that I could watch some Happy Tree Friends to relive some childhood memories. So that's what I did. And I went to Mondo Medias. And I did end up watching a few episodes of Happy Tree Friends. But eventually, I decided to look at the newer videos that Mondo Media had posted. And then I discovered that Mondo Media has made 2 YouTube videos. The videos were called Happy Tree Friends.AVI, Part 1 and 2. I immediately got excited because, I'm a big fan of Happy Tree Friends. So I decided to click on Part 1 of Happy Tree Friends.AVI. And so, it's exactly what I did. But however, little did I know that things would be very, very different. I clicked Part 1 of the Happy Tree Friends.AVI video, and so the episode started. The intro was normal, but for some strange reason it sounded a little bit glitchy and stuff. The episode began with Cuddles sitting on a bench looking awfully depressed for some reason. He had a very sad look on his face, and he was all alone with no one by his side. And all of the trees and all the trees in his area were all cut down. Cuddles then started crying, but the crying sounded awfully realistic. He started crying for 5 minutes straight, but it kind of felt like an eternity. Cuddles finally got off the bench and turned his head towards the camera. He then walked up to the camera, and then something shocking happened. If you'd watched Happy Tree Friends before, you would know that there is absolutely no dialogue. The Happy Tree Friends characters don't talk in this show. But in this video, Cuddles actually started talking. Cuddles said in a depressed voice, "Please don't make me do this." I was kind of shocked because there was never any dialogue or speaking or talking in any of the Happy Tree Friends shows. Whenever the Happy Tree Friends characters talk, it's just like this mumbling sound or whatever. But this was surprising. Then Cuddles started to walk down the street, again looking very depressed, as realistic-looking tears were coming from his eyes. Then Cuddles came to a nearby pond, and soon enough, Cuddles put his entire head underneath the water. 5 minutes passed, and Cuddles didn't put his head above the water. Cuddles continued to put his head under the water without even putting the head up to breathe for air. Eventually, eventually, 10 minutes passed, and yet Cuddles still didn't put his head above the water. But this time, however, it seemed that there was a mumbling sound coming from under the water. I believe the mumbling sound must have been Cuddles, as if he was screaming underneath the water. But then, all of a sudden, Cuddles' body completely collapsed with his head still underneath the water. At first, I was very confused. Did Cuddles just kill himself? Now, I do know that there are a lot of deaths in the Happy Tree Friends series, but this death was like no other. But I shrugged it off, and I believed that Mondo Media was probably just doing something a bit different. Eventually, the episode came to an end with a to be continued sign. And so I immediately went to go click on friends.AVI Part 2. And I hoped that there would be something very cool. And I started theorizing on what deaths would come up in Part 2. But however, this is where things would go totally wrong. Part 2 of Happy Tree Friends.AVI began with the Happy Tree Friends town, but the entire town was completely destroyed. Buildings were burned on fire, buildings were completely destroyed, wrecked, and were just destroyed. And some of the buildings had blood on them, as if there had been some type of murder here. Eventually, the screen then cut to the forest, where all of the trees were cut down. Every single one of them was broken and cut down. Eventually, some of the Happy Tree Friends characters, like Cuddles, Toothy, Handy, Pop, Russell, Sniffles, Lumpy, Nutty, Flaky, and Flippy, were all there. The Happy Tree Friends gang walked around what used to be the forest, but was now a dead, deserted wasteland. The Happy Tree Friends gang continued to walk around the destroyed, broken down forest. They all had depressed looks on their faces, and some of them were even crying. But they just continued to walk around the forest without saying a single word. They just continued walking along the path. They just continued walking and walking and walking and walking. There was a big montage of the Happy Tree Friends characters just walking around the destroyed forest. But as the more they continued to walk around the forest, the more disturbing it got. The more the Happy Tree Friends characters continued walking down the forest, the more disturbing things began. Creepy, disturbing music was playing in the background of the Happy Tree Friends characters walking around. Eventually, after 5 minutes, the Happy Tree Friends characters finally stopped walking, and they all collapsed onto the floor as if they were ready to just give up and stop walking. But then, however, Lumpy noticed something in the distance of the forest. There in the forest was a realistic body of a dead animal. Like, this wasn't one of the this wasn't one of the characters in the Happy Friends show. This was a real, actual dead animal that was photoshopped into the frame of the animated scene. All the Happy Tree Friends characters walked over to the dead body of the animal. They all sat down and just started staring at the dead body. They were just staring and just looking at it, as if it was some object, as if it was some type of object or something. They continued to stare at the dead body for over 5 minutes, until Nutty the squirrel got up and walked over to the dead body. There, Nutty tore a piece of flesh from the animal's body and ate it. And soon enough, all the other Happy Tree Friends characters came around and started eating the dead body of the dead animal. they continued to tear and chew pieces of the animal's carcass. It was so super disgusting to watch. Eventually, the Happy Tree Friends gang finished eating the dead carcass of the animal, and then they just moved on as if nothing had ever happened. Once the Happy Tree Friends characters were done eating the dead body of the animal, they continued to walk through the forest. But this time it was only for 5 seconds, as Flaky spotted something in the distance. Flaky spotted what looked like a grizzly bear, the exact same grizzly bear from the Take a Hike episode of Happy Tree Friends. Eventually, Flaky and all the other Happy Tree Friends characters walked over to the bear. Once the Happy Tree Friends characters came in contact with the bear, Toothy ran to the bear and jumped on its back and bit into its neck. However, the bear grabbed Toothy and threw him against the tree, supposedly knocking him out. Flippy then turned into his evil form, grabbed out his knife, and stabbed the bear straight into the gut. The bear was screaming in absolute pain as Flippy continued to tear and rip open the bear's stomach. Normally when a Happy Tree Friends character gets killed and when their organs are shown, it's normally this animated cartoon-looking dead body organs. However, this was like realistic organs. Flippy then began to tear out realistic-looking organs from the bear's stomach and started to eat them. It was kind of really strange and weird because normally they're like cartoon organs in the Happy Tree Friends series, not actual real organs. After when Flippy stabbed the bear with his knife, Lumpy then tore off one of his antlers and used it as a baseball bat against the bear. He used his antlers to hit the bear, slowly knocking it unconscious. Lumpy continued to bash the bear in the head with his antlers as realistic-looking blood started to come out of the bear's mouth. I was instantly shocked by what I was just seeing right now. Eventually, the bear finally died, and after when the bear was dead, all the Happy Tree Friends characters came around the bear, and just like last time, they started to eat the dead body of the bear. After when they finished eating the dead body of the bear, static started to play. The static lasted for about 5 minutes straight, and eventually, after when the static was done, there was a montage of all the Happy Tree Friends characters killing a bunch of animals in the most gruesome way possible. All of the deaths involved Flippy stabbing his knife into a raccoon's head, Toothy feasting on a bunch of rodents, Lumpy crushing an entire bird's head, and a whole bunch of other gruesome deaths. After when the Happy Tree Friends characters were done killing almost every single animal in the entire woods, they all started to form a cult-like circle and started singing a distorted version of the Happy Tree Friends theme song. After when the Happy Tree Friends characters were done singing a very distorted version of their own theme song, Cuddles then left the cult circle and walked up to the camera with a big smile on his face. And eventually, realistic blood started to come out of Cuddles' eyes. And eventually, as Cuddles looked at the camera, just like what happened last time, Cuddles once again started talking. Cuddles looked at the camera and said in a dark, demonic voice,
"You have tortured us for all of our lives, and now we will do the same to you."
Eventually, static began to play once again, and eventually, the episode finally came to an end. I was instantly shocked. It was true that Happy Tree Friends had a lot of dark, scary, and a lot of violent themes, but this was the darkest Happy Tree Friends episode that I have ever seen before. I cannot believe Mondo Media would create such a dark episode of Happy Tree Friends. After when the episode ended, I immediately turned off my computer and went to my bedroom, and I immediately went to bed. That night, I had a nightmare. I had a dream about a group of animals killing other animals, and the animals were chasing after me. I tried to get away from the animals, but they immediately caught up to me. And one by one, the animals started tearing pieces of my flesh off and started eating my flesh. I was instantly screaming while crying, and I was begging for help, but no one could hear me. And eventually, I woke up, and I immediately went to the bathroom to go and take a shower to brush my mind off of the episode. After when I took a shower, I immediately went back to my bed. The next day, I went to go see my computer, and I went on Mondo Medias to check the happytreefriends.avi episodes. But however, I instantly came on my computer to the realization that the happytreefriends.avi videos were deleted. I guess Mondo Medias must have thought that the happytreefriends.avi videos were too dark and too disturbing for young, mature audiences and decided to take them down. I was actually really glad that I wouldn't be getting to see those creepy videos anymore. Eventually, I stopped watching Happy Tree Friends, and I was no longer a fan of Happy Tree Friends after this incident. I stopped watching all of the Happy Tree Friends episodes, and I no longer became a fan of the Happy Tree Friends franchise anymore. To this day, I still have nightmares about the happytreefriends.avi videos, and I fear and I'm worried that Mondo Medias will re-upload the happytreefriends.avi videos. And so, this is a warning. If you ever see a YouTube video called happytreefriends.avi Part 1 and happytreefriends.avi Part 2, please stay away from those episodes. And please report the videos, because there is a very dark, disturbing things in the episodes that could possibly lead to childhood trauma. So please, I beg of you, stay away from it.